she's grew up in a family where it's like, all right, we stick together. Anything outside of that, we don't really care. You know what I'm saying? Which is so understandable. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
go as far as saying we don't
like, we don't really care, but
nah, you really feel. Alright y'all, today we're going to get into this video. Y'all can already tell by the title what we're going to be reacting to today. Ezee and Natalie get therapy in front of the world. Alright, so I'm interested to see what's going on in this. It's a 41-minute video. First of all, I'm very excited to see this. Why I'm super excited to see this, for one, Ezee and Natalie, of course, they're entertaining as hell. And I feel like they are going to come on here and be genuine about like their relationship and shit like that. Alright, second of all, Sham Booty. I love Sham Booty. I said I was gonna cut out the cussing, but she deserves the F, capital F in fucking. Okay, I love Sham Booty, bro. I really, really do. I've been following her since she was in an open relationship with her now husband. That is now, I believe, a closed relationship. Sham Booty is super dope, very strong woman, alpha female, man, and I'm super excited to see what's gonna go on in this therapy session. So let's get into it. Like, comment, subscribe, make sure you hit that bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. DM me lit videos to react to. Follow me on TikTok if you want to laugh, and tell a friend to tell a friend to tell their aunt, your mom, tell their uncle Joey. Still a hoe. Let's get right into this video. Look at y'all.
Yes, ladies and gents, is why we decided to come talk to her about it.
Because she does this shit.
She does this.
Yes.
She has a lot of knowledge on it, and like we, expressed to you guys, our relationship has, it's been suffering a little bit,
especially
recently.
in that area.
So yeah, let's get it.
Any real relationship is gonna have its ups and downs. There's no realistic relationship that is always on a high note. And if you're looking for that, might as well be single forever.
Into it.
Well, I do want to clarify and just say that you guys invest in a therapeutic process together, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And any therapist will tell you that the mistake a lot of couples make is they wait until
shit's fucked
too
up.
late to go to therapy.
Right.
And you guys are like, no, we go and we ask for help all the time.
Yes.
Now, I'm not a therapist. This is not a therapeutic session.
Right.
This is a conversation that is led by curiosity, and I will provide insight where I can. But really, I think the best thing that I can do is just
listen,
be here to be another person to be like, what about this? What about that?
Yeah, no, 100%, especially with some of the knowledge that you have. I feel like you'll have the right questions to ask.
Yeah. So why are we here?
Yeah, we need help. We need help. I feel like our relationship has been suffering, and in that way, I mean our romance. Our romantic life has been suffering. We used to be very romantic in the beginning, and it was just so much spark, so much fire, and now it's work, and that intimacy is just not there, and it's affecting us. Even the way we work, the way we talk to each other, the way we handle each other, it needs a lot of attention, and we need to seek help, whether it's trying to switch it up, understanding each other's love languages or whatever, but it's just not it right now.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is that we're both very curious as to why it's not working, and we're both willing to go and seek help any way possible. Like we've been trying therapy, like talking to you who have a lot of education in this field. So yeah.
How are you feeling the exact same way that Ezee's feeling in terms of that mojo, that sauce?
Yeah, I feel like that mojo and sauce is definitely, lacking.
A little more mild.
Yeah, it's a little mild. It was very spicy before. Yeah, it's a little mild. And I think that we have some communication issues on my end. I feel like a big thing is like communication and how we get along in our day-to-day. That really does probably affect our romance, because to me, if we're not like mentally on the same page, we're not getting along as much and stuff like that, it's not gonna make me feel that, like, it's hard for me to just let that go if I feel like we were just arguing. Now I don't really want to come over and be all on you and be kissing you and stuff like that. That's not how like my brain works.
Interesting.
What's interesting?
I feel like I'm that way. I'm very much that way when it comes to intimacy. Like, especially because being a woman, I feel like with at least from the guy friends that I have, even if him and his partner are arguing, or friends, they're arguing with their woman, it's like they could still have that sex. You know what I'm saying? Me, for arguing, I don't want to have it. Like, it's not turning me on. You feel me? If she complains about that, like, oh, I feel like I'm not wanted. I feel like you don't want me enough. But it's just like, well, we're just arguing. or when I do give it to you, or when we do have sex, you want to argue right after. Where it's just like, I'm the type of person, I'm like, yo, if we having sex, especially if it's been a long time, I'm expecting us not to argue. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I wanted to treat it like it's a reward, but it's like, dang, remember those times we just have sex and it just feels so good after? Why the fuck are we arguing?
Right, that's kind of weird.
What's the answer to that question? What is like the root of the conflicts? Like, where's that stemming from repeatedly?
I think a lack of communication, honestly, and like not really knowing. I think comfortability. So let me just say that I think the main issue we have in this relationship is comfortability, because I feel like the way that, you know, from speaking on my end specifically, I feel like the way, you know, that sometimes you'll be comfortable in talking to me, or just like getting so easily frustrated, or the lack of trying to court me still, that affects us so much.
Yikes.
You know, it affects me so much. I won't say us because I'm going to speak for myself.
I feel a little called out, I ain't gonna lie.
All right, well, where is there room for romance when I feel like in just a normal conversation, something that should never lead to an argument is going to lead to an argument because of the way that it's said, or the comfortability of like getting so easily frustrated, you know? So I feel like that's like a huge thing for me.
Difficult for you to go from conflict to sex.
Yeah.
What is the conflict?
From sex to conflict.
The conflict, I think, is just I'll get too comfortable with her, and like
God damn, AT&T.
She was pretty much saying, and it's just like,
come on, man.
Why are you upset about that? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like with her, what she does is it's like almost kind of like the same, but in different ways. She argues a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like her always having a response to something is just like not stimulating me mentally. You know what I'm saying? Which is also internally like affecting my romance in, you know, that type of way. You know? So I don't know if that answers the question.
I think so. I mean, I think what I hear in summary is that the fact that you guys are not communicating with each other in loving ways, or in ways that make you feel loved or desired by each other all day long is impacting you in terms of the passion, the sexual desire in the relationship, which also causes frustration, which makes the other problems compounded.
Exactly.
Because now you go to the next day being sexually frustrated, in addition to being like, I don't like how you spoke to me.
Exactly.
So it feels like it's a cycle.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that we do, just to kind of touch on something that you said earlier, I think we do share like very similar like viewpoints on like, okay, if we're not getting along, we're not really sexually like attracted to each other, or we're not in that home.
I think that makes sense.
For me, I think like I can get over things a little bit faster than she can. So if we argue in the morning and then now it's later in the evening and we've been getting along, have lots of laughs and stuff like that, like I'm okay with like
moving on. So Natalie can move on. Ezee doesn't like to move on quickly. My bad, y'all.
We'll feel like, well, dang, it's not a reward. You know, like how she said, well, it's not, you know, she's like, I don't look at it as a reward. Sometimes it feels like it's being treated as one. If like, I don't think, of course, I'm not the type of person that wants to have sex like in the moment of arguing, and some people are like that. But I feel like if there's a good amount of time that has gone by, like we should be able to
move on.
Have sex. Like still be romantic if we've been getting along for the past like 5 hours.
Right. But I guess this isn't something that you can put a we label on.
Yeah.
Because you might feel that way.
But she feels another way.
And also through resolution, sometimes you could feel resolved. And maybe that's because Ezee apologized to you. But in return, maybe she doesn't feel resolved. And so what you could move on about, because you're like, we're talking about, we ended it. For you, maybe it didn't end.
Yeah. That could be the case.
That is the case a lot of the time.
Or do you feel like you're the kind of person who just stays in a stank mood for a long period of time?
No, I think that I can hold, not a grudge, but it's just like, if I'm affected in a big way, you know what I'm saying? It's not that we just argued about freaking who can choose what food it is. It's like an argument sometimes where it's like, yo, like could be detrimental to our relationship. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna just get over that, you know, or my feelings being ignored. I'm not going to continue to feel like I'm not being heard in this relationship. And because I feel that way and you're not catering to that feeling, it's like, how am I going to be sexually, like, how am I supposed to be sexual right now? Or, you know what I'm saying? Or try to have sex, you know? So I'm not in that.
Look at how Natalie's looking at her.
It's like you don't cater to my feelings, you know?
Look at how she's looking at her.
There's a couple of quizzes that I want to suggest right now that I think, first and foremost, let me just frame this discussion by saying there's really good news and then there's really bad news here.
Okay.
The really good news is that this is so common that when we get to a place in a relationship, especially multi-hyphenate relationships, friends, business partners, lovers, homies, dog walkers for each other, you do everything together, right? We can start out with high passion, but eventually that passion turns more into a companionship. And that's the goal of love in general. You want to get to a place where you are now locked in. That's where commitment takes place. But there's a trade-off that happens in that balance, because now I know you so well and I can rely on you so much that thrill and excitement is gone, because that passion phase is really based on the unknown. The more you get to know someone, the less that you don't know,
There's mystery.
so the less that there is that sort of adrenaline rush when that person walks around.
Right.
So that's the good and the bad news, is that you've now moved into a stage of your relationship where you have a deeper level of commitment, you have more responsibilities together, you have to rely on each other for a lot more, and that's amazing. But the downside is that the passion doesn't become this automatic thing anymore. It becomes something that you have to intentionally work for. Do you feel like you've made that adjustment to now intentionally working to create that passion rather than just expecting it to be there?
I feel like in a lot of ways we just kind of expect it to be there. I don't think that we've put in adequate work towards keeping that passion alive. I think that some other issues that we have in our relationship, like, are things that we like to consider like our non-negotiables, where it's like, okay, I need this in a partner and she needs this in a partner. I think those things we have like put in a lot of work towards, where it just kind of is a cycle. Like, it'll get better for a while and then the same topic continues to come up. But I definitely feel like we could put more effort towards like keeping the passion and romance alive. It's just a little bit hard to do that when we're having a hard time getting along because of those non-negotiables.
Yeah, and I think that we don't intentionally, all of the things that we already are going through, it's like it's hard when you're just working. You know what I'm saying? You're just working, you're not catering to the relationship, you're not catering to even yourself. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to like intentionally putting in that sexual effort and complimenting each other and stuff like that, we just don't do it enough. And as we are here, you can see that. You know what I'm saying?
So we broke this down into kind of like 3 different buckets. Bucket 1 is just general communication that makes me feel disrespected or unloved.
Right.
And obviously you respect each other and you love each other. So the great news is that all you got to do here is be mindful of what triggers your partner and avoid that language. So when you say, you know, Weezy gets frustrated with you really easily, what are some of the languages or things that she does that you're like, hey, it would mean a lot to me if
you didn't do that.
You, even though you're comfortable with me, instead of just coming to me automatically and correcting me or giving me that tone, I would actually appreciate if you gave me more grace and patience in these areas.
I think that I'm very much like tone sensitive. I don't really want people to talk to me with an attitude, let alone yell at me. You know, I've been like that since I was little. Like, I would get, if my mom would yell at me or a teacher would yell at me, I'd start crying immediately. Like, I don't like that. And I think that's kind of like, she'll call it passion when she's speaking to me. And sometimes I'm like, I shut down. Like, I don't respond well to like anybody raising their voice at me or coming at me with like a certain tone. That would be something that I'd appreciate if you didn't do. Or like even like cussing when we're upset. Like, I would like for us to practice not doing that, like not cussing at each other, or, you know, being super offensive, like calling each other names, like those type of things. Like, I feel are not necessary if you're really trying to communicate with your partner and not just like be offensive.
I would love, because we're not going to accomplish, and again, we're not in a therapy session here, and we're covering a lot in a short space of time, but what we're trying to just accomplish is like, what are the areas and the potential for growth, the opportunities for growth? And that's an opportunity for growth right there. So I just want to know, because you can't fix this in a day. It could take years to curb those things, because obviously that reaction, those emotional reactions might be learned behavior from childhood even. So that's work that you have to dedicate to doing by yourself. So I would just love if in this moment you could reflect back to Natalie what you just heard and what your intentions are given what she just said.
You know, my intentions are never to make you feel like I'm attacking you. You know what I'm saying? So like when I am speaking passionately and I'm feeling some heightened emotions, I know it can't come off aggressive, and I want to cater to you being tone sensitive and stuff like that. So, you know, I want to make sure that I'm being aware of the way that I'm speaking to you, so you don't feel like, all right, I just don't care about your feelings, or I'm being angry or aggressive. You know what I'm saying? And just catering to that emotion, so you know that I actually care, you know, and I'm actually taking what you're saying into consideration and wanting to do better for this relationship. That way we can get to moments that even if we are arguing, it can be like, wow, she's being very sweet, and it can even turn somewhat sexual, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think in order for change to happen, you have to change more than just your mind.
Yeah.
Right, like that's anything else in life. I can't just decide like I want to get in better shape today. I've got to change lifestyle, I got to change habits, I got to put a plan in action to follow through with that.
Yeah.
So because one of the harder things to change is the way that we react when we're emotionally triggered, because we go into fight or flight, and that's a very automatic system.
Yeah.
So in order to ensure that you don't snap at your partner, what other changes are you willing to make good on the promise you just made verbally?
I think other changes that I can make is just, I think, meditating more. You know what I'm saying? Like, to keep that calmness and awareness is something that I like to do as mirror practices. You know what I'm saying? And those things help me be a way more calm person. You know what I'm saying? So I think internally I have to work on myself before I can give all that to you. You know, and making that action.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I know I said I wasn't going to pause the video that much, but that's what it's all about, bro. Like, if you don't have your own shit together, you don't have your own emotions in check, if you don't have your own mentality and all of that, if you don't fill your own cup up, you have nothing to pour into somebody else. You have to realize that.
Is therapy something that you engage in alone or have thought of engaging alone if anger outbursts are something that you're like, oh, I do that and I don't like that I do that?
Yeah, I've tried it and I think it was very beneficial. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like, I don't know, just with therapists are just like, it's like they don't get there. You know, they don't give you what, but they're also just a regular human, so they can't give you all of the answers. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do the work yourself.
You gotta do the work.
And you feel like meditation is that solo practice you can do by yourself. There's things that within your own control.
Yeah.
And that's actually really helpful.
Yeah.
Does that feel like a satisfactory plan to you?
Yeah. I feel like if it is something that like you actually, you know, stick to and can be like consistent with, I think it would actually really help, because I have noticed like when you are taking more time for yourself, like emotionally and mentally, and just like creating like a peaceful space for yourself, I've noticed like it makes a big difference in how you react to things and interact with me.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about you.
Can't wait.
What are you gonna do?
Well, yeah.
I'm waiting for Shan to ask you.
Well, on the flip side, Ezee also identified that there's ways that you communicate with her that light her fire, that can feel combative or argumentative, that create that need for her to feel like she has to raise her voice to you. So are you aware, when you heard her say that, did that feel like that was truth to you? Are you aware of that?
That I can be argumentative sometimes? Yeah, I definitely would say I can agree that I can be argumentative.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. If you were kind of re-express, for you, like, what's the thing in your day-to-day communication that you're like, I kind of want to see this change?
Yeah. I feel like something that I complain about the most in this relationship is my feelings being heard. I think that with her, I have to be gentle, and the things that she says, like, it's not that it's like a never. So when she's like, all right, be soft, be this, be that, I'm like, okay, I can do those things. But when it comes to my needs and my feelings and being heard, they aren't reciprocated. There's always a but. There's always a because. There's always, well, you know, maybe you shouldn't feel that way. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, it feels like my feelings are being belittled 90% of the time in this relationship, to where it's just like, dang, like every time she expresses herself and what she feels, a lot of times it can be an argument, but a lot of times it's like, okay, I hear you. I feel like majority of the times I express my feelings, it always ends up in an argument. You know what I'm saying? And that sucks to feel like, dang, all right, how should I express myself and my feelings in this relationship without it getting into an argument, even though it's me expressing myself, you know? And that's where it typically goes. how is it that you're arguing with me about what I feel? You know, instead of not justifying, but understanding and catering to that feeling, you know? And that is a huge, huge reason why, like, this part of our relationship affects me romantically.
I want to gloss over that, and then I want you to get more specific, because I think what Natalie did for you just now is gave you something very tangible and actionable that you can work on.
Okay.
Which is good and helpful. Yeah. But you're saying, when I give you things to work on, the way that you respond doesn't give me confidence that I can be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I also kind of want to know what specifically is something that you're like, yeah, when I say this is what I want to focus on. But I have a rule of thumb when it comes to that, because it's very difficult to answer your question, like, why does someone get upset that I'm upset? Because we go into fight or flight. You know, that person attacks you, and then all of a sudden now your defenses are up, your ego is up, like, you're no longer responding from a place of rationale, like you're in protective mode. I think a good thing to be mindful of is when that happens for you, to be like, okay, right now I'm defensive when my person needs me to be receptive. And I use the analogy of, imagine, Natalie, you're home and you're inside, you're watching your favorite TV show, right? And Natalie comes in and she is soaking wet. And she's like, where were you? Like, where have you been? You're supposed to pick me up. I was outside in the rain, now I'm soaking wet. You're mad because she came in really aggressive. But also, she's the one who's wet right now. She's the one who's disappointed. So your first priority has to be like, let's get you in dry clothes. Let me apologize to you because you're the person who's like really been impacted right now. And then after you're dry and you're settled and you're calm, now I can come to you and say, hey, I know that I let you down, disappointed you, and there was a miscommunication, but the way you brought it to me was hurtful. And I think that that's in mind sometimes. Whenever whoever comes with the problem first, see that person as the person who's been outside cold, wet, and irritated. And even though the way that they brought it to you may not be the most comfortable way, just get that person dry and warm first, and then you can bring your thing in.
Wow, that was the best example I've heard in a really long time. And it was a great example of how she deals with things. And I'm like, not trying to be funny, like that really touched the spot. And I was like, dang, that's what I feel like, coming in wet all the time. It's just like, well, why are you mad? Wait, why are you yelling? You know, it's like, well, damn, I'm out here soaking wet. Like, that's so crazy you said that. I almost got emotional. That's how I feel.
That's a hard thing to put into practice, though, because human nature, when somebody says something to us that's can feel like an attack, or a natural response. So we can remind each other of this analogy in that moment to give that person some space to switch over into a calm and connect mode. But that's just a tool for you guys to use, and if you both can subscribe to it, it can be really powerful for relationships. Anyways, but going back to her getting something specific, she gave you something specific. What's one thing that you're like, I'd like you to work on this, and working on this would allow us to get a lot more peace out of our relationship?
It's just like that example just gave exactly what I mean. Like, whenever I'm coming to you with an issue about anything, I tiptoe about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I know you're sensitive. So whenever I come to you with an issue, I want to feel like you're going to be receptive enough to be like, oh, okay, I hear your issue. But not say, okay, I hear your issue, but this is that. I just want you to be receptive and be like, you know what? Wow, I didn't know you had this issue with me. Or wow, dang, like now I can see it like that. Or dang, I didn't know this was affecting you. You know, I want to work on that. Or, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like there's always an if, and, or but, and because, you know? So if you can do that every time, or at least try to do that whenever I come to you with an issue, it will make me feel like my feelings are being acknowledged. You know what I'm saying? Without always arguing, you know what I'm saying? Because even when I'm not coming off aggressively, we still end up arguing, even if it's a sweet way. You know what I'm saying? Because it's about, you make it about you. I feel like you make it about you instead of the overall bigger picture. Because it's like, okay, well, what am I feeling right now? That's not true. If this is Natalie, you're being receptive. This is what I feel. Like, I feel like, well, that's not true to me. Well, that's not what I feel. Well, since you tell me what you feel, let me make it about what I feel, what I've been feeling. You know what I'm saying? So is that specific enough for you?
I guess, yeah. I feel like it's kind of still a little broad, but like it's not like behavioral things I can specifically like pinpoint, like, I remember when I've done this. But I feel like I can definitely take in what you're saying. You're just saying like be more like open to hearing you out
and receptive,
and being receptive to you when you have an issue with something.
Yeah, and just but all that ties into how argumentative you are, and you know, your personality and how you are is like very strong. You know what I'm saying? It shows, and you know that about yourself. So just being a little bit more passionate and soft, you know, because at the end of the day, yeah, I know you're used to dealing with guys, and you vocalize like, dang, a guy would never do that. But it's just like, I am a woman. Same thing you want.
She said, I am a woman. I ain't no damn man.
And receptiveness, you know?
Be soft.
Defensive is a good word to utilize here.
That she's defensive?
Yes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So if that's kind of an
I can be
actual point
defensive
of
too. So
having a defensive personality, because when we're defensive, it's difficult to be empathetic and be sympathetic. So for you, when you hear that, is that something that you acknowledge and want to work on? And if so, what can you offer Ezee to say, like, this is something that I do want to fix for you?
Yeah, I feel like I could definitely see how, you know, being defensive of a situation, regardless of the reasons that why I become defensive about certain things, I can see how that doesn't feel compassionate to you or doesn't make you feel like heard. And like going back to Shan's like example of like, all right, well, you're cold, caught in the rain, so let's talk about that first. I think that that's a great like way to look at things, because I do find like I can think of specific examples where times like that have happened where that wasn't my first intention, was to like make sure you're good first and dry and warm, because I felt like, you know, whatever the reason might be, it's not, my intentions wouldn't be like, oh, let me make sure you're warm and stuff, but that could probably help diffuse the situation a lot faster. I do think though, one part of what she said is like something really good for us both to take in, and that is like eventually you can bring up like, hey, now that you're dry and warm, like let's not handle things in this specific way, because I know that times where I've done that, you'll say I've made it about me now, where it's like even in the conversation, if I did try to cater to you, and like towards the end, like, oh, but you know, babe, like the way that you said this, I felt like that was really nasty towards me, or whatever the case may be. I'd rather you not, oh, now you're making it about you. Like, I feel like any conversation, we should both be open to hearing each other out. Or even if you're the one that brought it up, you should still be able to hear something that they said in the conversation, because it's not just about venting, it's about communicating. You know, overall, I definitely could say that, like, I can see how verbally making sure that you know that I'm hearing you and that I care can make the world a difference in a conversation between us when you're bringing something to my attention.
There's actually this quiz I want you guys to do. We don't probably have time to do it here, but you should do it offline. So the same person who made love languages made apology languages, and acknowledging that people feel resolved in different ways.
Yeah.
There's 5 apology languages. I only think the 3 are really different. I think they're trying to keep with the 5-3 theme. But like genuinely repenting is important for people. A makeup act might be important for people. Or for some people, they want someone to take responsibility.
Yes.
So doing that quiz independently and then being like, hey, I know that you said you're sorry, but what I really need to feel like resolved from an issue, like for me, I am an act of repentance. Like if you broke my camera, buy me a new one. I don't care how sorry you are or how much you didn't intend. Like that's not what's going to matter to me. I'm like, do a makeup act.
Yeah.
Whereas my husband, Jared, is take responsibility. It's so much more important for me, because I could go out and buy him a new camera, but if I never said, that camera meant a lot to you and I was really careless with it, and I really need to do a better job of ensuring that I am careful with your property, he's never going to feel good about that new camera.
Wow, that's how
that's
you are,
me.
huh?
That's me too.
100%.
Take responsibility.
I'm literally like that. I feel like she's like that with you. Like you're like that.
That's what
like
I
buy me a new camera. Yeah.
Active. Yeah.
What was it?
It's like an act, I can't remember the actual term for it. It's like an act of restitution, I think it
Yes.
is, but essentially it's like a makeup act.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm like that too, but more so, I'm curious. I will take this quiz because I'm really curious to hear what the other ones are, because it is about the act to me, but that can get old for me. If you just know to do something to like, oh, I broke this, I'm going to buy you a new one, like that wouldn't be enough for me either. I want to know that you're not going to continue to do those things, because it's one thing to...
Well, to be clear, it's not always like a purchasing thing. I mean, doing the quiz is important, because it could be something where it's like, hey, like, I didn't compliment you on your big day. You know, you came home, you made an incredible speech, I didn't talk about it. For me, it's like, acknowledge you didn't talk about it, but what's really going to make me feel better is the next time I can see that you did the action. Or that same day, instead you actually take the time and say, here's what I really thought. So if I'm bringing something up, it's because I want to see that action fixed. Versus I don't need to feel like down the line or I'm so sorry. That to be said, that's kind of an offline thing. I think that acknowledging, you know, how we just did, making it really small, because sometimes problems can be big, making them as small as possible, like here's the next thing I want you to work on for us. And then also too ensuring the person heard you and feels heard by you. And that apology part, you know, kind of to your point about, we already had this discussion hours ago, why are you still mad? It could be that you didn't speak Ezee's particular apology language. You apologize in your way.
Okay. I think that's a big thing.
Or if you don't apologize at all.
That apologies mean a lot to me.
Facts.
And you know,
people don't
over
apologize.
the years that you've worked on it so much, but you know, you gotta continue working on it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard. She's grew up in a family where it's like, all right, we stick together. Anything outside of that, we don't really care. You know what I'm saying? Which is so understandable. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go as far as saying we don't really care. Like, we don't really care, but
not Ezee really feel
love that I've seen.
Seems like Ezee feels some type of way about like Natalie's family and that type of stuff. She really feels some type of way. You can tell by the way she says it.
Care, you know what I'm saying? Which is so understandable. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go as far as saying we don't really care. Not like we don't really care, but that loyalty and love that I've seen that she has for her family is so admirable. Versus anybody else, it's just like, okay, that's cool. So I feel like with her, one thing that I always complain about is like, dang, like responsibility is like something that you really need to work on.
Oh god damn, AT&T is trash, y'all. My bad.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you go as far as saying we don't really care. Not like we don't really care, but that loyalty and love that I've seen that she has for her family is so admirable. Versus anybody else, it's just like, okay, that's cool. So I feel like with her, one thing that I always complain about is like, dang, like responsibility is like something that you really need to work on, and being apologetic. That's one of my love languages. As you can see, whenever I do actions, like, I'm sorry, baby, what do you need me to do? Okay, what actions do I need to take to show you that I'm sorry? You know what I'm saying? So that's a huge thing about my love language that I think be better.
So I'm gonna cut the video here, man. This is a 40-minute freaking video. Man, this was a great video. Shout out to Ezee and Natalie for being vulnerable enough to even put the relationship like in a therapy session. I definitely learned some things watching it, and I'm sure y'all did too. Shout out to them. I wish them much, you know, happiness, love in their relationship. And shout out to Shan, man. Shan Booty is fucking amazing. Like I said, I was really interested to see what she had to say about Ezee and Natalie. Relationships gonna be up and down. It ain't always gonna be high. It ain't always gonna be low, you know? So it's just about what type of work are you willing to put in to make it work. So definitely, man, let me know how y'all feel. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell to be notified when I upload on this channel. Make sure you DM me lit videos to react to it. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell that ain't your mama. Tell that Uncle Joey still a hoe. I will see you guys in the next motherfucking video. I love y'all, man. Peace. We out, baby.